Testing. All right, what's up, party people? I actually recorded this video last week, right after the new year, but the video was too long and Facebook wouldn't let me upload it, so I'm doing it over because I don't feel like editing. Uh, Basically, it's just a quick video on how to know when the beginning of the year is according to the Bible. Okay, it's very simple. It's very laid out. All you need is just patience. Number one, uh, open mind. You know what I'm saying? And just hear me out. All right. So first I wanted to start with Genesis chapter 1 verses 11 through 12 says, and God said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth. And it was so. And the earth brought forth grass and herb yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielded fruit whose seed was in itself after his kind, and God saw that it was good. The reason I wanted to point this out was because nothing grows in the winter. So it's impossible for January, as we know it today, to be the beginning of the year, because we know that it's freezing cold throughout the entire world. Throughout the entire world. So, yeah, so moving along, Genesis 14 and 15. This is where God just pretty much made the difference between everything. All right. And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, for seasons, and for days and years. All right. So when we're talking about seasons, we're also referring to months. Okay. Um, Signs, days, and years. So if you have days, then of course you have months, and if you have months, then of course you have years. Okay, so that goes without saying. And it says, and let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and it was so. All right. So I wanted to jump to Genesis chapter 3. Excuse me for going like really fast, but I took my time in the first video, and of course it was too long, so I'm just gonna like try to blaze through this one. If you miss anything, then just rewind. All right. But again, this is just to show that the beginning of the year is the springtime according to the Bible. Okay. Genesis 3 and 7. After Adam and Eve listened to Satan, uh chapter 3 verse 7 picks up and says, and the eyes of them both were open, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. So Adam and Eve knew that they were naked. I mean, yeah, they knew that they were naked, but why would they be naked in the wintertime? Okay, so because again, this is like at the beginning of creation. This is at the beginning of creation. Okay, it's just makes sense. Why would they be? I mean, had they not sinned, they would have been naked year round, but God had already made seasons. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you're gonna be cold in the winter time. So they would. All right, you get me? You understand? All right. So I did a little research, and picked up the names of the months throughout the Bible, and they're all noted. But I'm just doing this to show that God designated months, okay? So it's not like we can't figure anything out, so we're just gonna make up our own months. No, man changed times and laws, and that's Daniel 7 and 25. That he would think to change times and laws, and that's exactly what he did. He's switched the Sabbath day to Sunday, and he's got you thinking that January is the beginning of the year. Um, so the first month of the Bible year is Nisan, and you can read about it, or you can find it in the book of Esther, chapter 3, verse 7, Nehemiah 2 and 1, Exodus 12 and 1. And the key thing about Exodus 12 and 1, and let me run to it right quick. Exodus 12 and 1 says, and the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, this month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. All right. So God is saying right here, this is the first month. Okay. So if we go to Exodus 13 and 4, it says, this is after the children of Israel came out of Egypt. All right, they were in the desert on their way into the wilderness, and it says, Exodus 13 and 4, this day came ye out in the month Abib. So the Lord said that this month is the beginning of the months, and now we know the name of that month is the month of Abib. So if the beginning of the month was January, they would have left when it was cold, because the desert is cold. Contrary to what people believe, the desert gets cold, especially at nighttime. So, and they left at night. So why would God have them leave in the cold in the beginning of the months? What we know is January, but they really indeed left in spring. Okay. The second month is the month Ziph. You can read it in 1 Kings 6:1, 1 Kings 6:37. Oh, and some more verses for the beginning of the months: Exodus 23:15, Exodus 34:18. The third month is Sivan. Esther 8:9 has it. The fourth month is questionable, but you can read about it in Ezekiel 8:14, 2 Kings 25:3, Jeremiah 52:6. The fifth month, I don't have anything for it. I believe that one was questionable as well, so I didn't even bother writing it down. The sixth month is well, that one was questionable too. I have a question mark, but it's mentioned in Nehemiah 6:15. The seventh month is Ethanim, 1 Kings 8:2. Eighth month is Bull, 1 Kings 6:38. Ninth month is Cheslo, Nehemiah 1:1, Zechariah 7:1. The 10th month is Tebeth. You can read about it, Esther 2:16. Sabat is Zechariah 1:7. And the 12th month is Adar. And I believe that it was mentioned in one of the above verses that I mentioned, because it said the first and last month. And then it gave the name of that first month, and then it said Adar, but I forgot to write it down. So those are months in the Bible. Okay, so don't just think that God didn't designate any particular time and that we should just continue to go along with the Gregorian calendar. And I should have mentioned this before. This is just for Christians. All right, if you don't believe in the Bible, then don't worry about this. But this is just for those who celebrate New Year's January 1st and believe in the Bible. All right, so sorry, I guess somebody decided to call me and I don't know why. All right. Sorry about that. But I wanted to skip to, this is very important. Just to back up to show that God designated months and seasons for a reason. For a reason. He is the reason behind the seasons. All right. The first feast of the Lord is Passover. Okay, and it is mentioned in Leviticus 23:5. It says, in the 14th day of the first month at even is the Lord's Passover. Remember, the children of Israel left Egypt in the beginning of the months, and now we know that they left on the 14th day because they left right after Passover. Okay. And on the 15th day of the same month is the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So first you have Passover, and then you have the Feast of Unleavened Bread. The first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. The Feast of Unleavened Bread is 7 days, and then there's another feast on the 7th day. All right, so it's a whole week later. So from Passover to the last day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread is 8 days. After that, you have Pentecost, which is 50 days after the last day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And you can read about that in Leviticus 15:16. It says, and ye shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath. And all of the Lord's feast days are Sabbath days except for the Passover. But all of them are Sabbath days. So it's not just a weekly Sabbath. It's also high feast days in which one could read, I believe it's in John 19, that particular Sabbath was a high Sabbath. So it wasn't a regular Sabbath day. So you could just get rid of Good Friday because Jesus didn't die on Good Friday. He actually died in the midst of the week, which you could read in Daniel 9:27. But in the midst of the week is Wednesday. And ye shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that ye brought the sheaf of the wave offering. 7 Sabbaths shall be complete, even unto the morrow after the 7th Sabbath shall ye number 50 days, and ye shall offer a new meat offering unto the Lord. So first you got to know when Passover is. Passover's in the beginning of months. Then you have to count the 14th day from the beginning of that month. And I'm gonna show you how to do that when I finish with this, but I just wanted to kind of go into it a little bit. So if you count around 50 days from the beginning of the months, what do you have? You have like the second month of the year, okay? Because you got 30 days in a month, so 60 days. So you in the second month already with Pentecost. Well, that's what it is, Pentecost, but it's called Pentecost in the New Testament, Acts chapter 2, but in the Old Testament, it was just the Feast of Weeks. That's what it was called, the Feast of Weeks. And because you had to count 7 Sabbaths, so you count 7 weeks, and then you add another day. So Pentecost is always on Sunday. So then after that, you got the Feast of Trumpets, the Feast of Atonement, the Feast of Tabernacles, and then the 8th day. And all of these are listed in Leviticus 23. So, right quick, right fast, I just wanted to get to how to know what day it is and the months. All right, so these are the ways that I usually tell people how you know if it's that how the calendar has been changed around, things like that. You go back to the Latin core. All right, go to the core things, and all praises due to the Most High for keeping things intact for those who ask questions, and He will guide your path. So September, as we know it, is what, the 9th month of the year. Well, Septem in Latin means 7th month. Oct, we know is 8. You know, it's 8 sides to a stop sign. And it's a octagon. You got Octomom. She had what, like 8 kids at the same time. So you know, octopus. Okay, so October is actually the 8th month of the year. Novem or Novembris is, it means 9th month of the year, and Decem, as in December, is the 10th month. Like a decimal is usually like a tenth of something. So if you fast forward to January, then January should be 11, and February should be 12, and by the time you get to March, you should be picking up on spring sometime around March, right? And then March is 1. So how do you know when to actually start the month? You have 4 moon phases. You have well, actually, yes, 4. You have a new moon, in which case there is absolutely no moon in the sky. That is a new moon, because remember, God created these lights, so it was all darkness first. So those lights came about, so the month starts at the new moon. Then you have half moon, which is a week should be going by, and we should be seeing half a moon in like another 3 days. And I'm recording this video April 4th, 2014. So around April 7th, we should be seeing a half moon. Then you have a full moon, uh, which indicates like 2 weeks have gone by. Then you have the other half of the moon. So like the first half moon is like light on one side, but after the full moon, then the light is going to be on the other side, and then you're going to go back around to a new moon. So when you see the new moon, that's the beginning of the month. Half moon is 1 week, a full moon is 2 weeks, then the other half of the moon is 3 weeks, then you come back around to the new moon. So that's 4 weeks done went by. Okay, so that is how you know how to determine the months. That is how you know how to determine, um, and of course you count days. Sunrise, sunset, moonrise, moonset. Okay, and it's just that simple. Also, my last key phrase that I always go to, my last key word, in Spanish and Latin, the word for prime is prima. Prima means prime is, it's first. Prime is first. So even in Spanish, if they're calling spring prima, then spring must be first, not winter. Okay, so just think about it. Nothing changes from the month of December to January. Everything is cold in December. Everything is cold in January. Everything is hibernating in December. Everything is hibernating in January. Nothing changes. God is about change. He's about us being able to see physical changes, to know signs, as he says. Signs. Everything is for a sign. So I hope this makes things very clear. Sorry I had to be so brief about it, but I hope you get some type of enlightenment. And if so, praise be to God. All right. In Jesus' name.